Hi everybody and welcome along to this Yoga Orkney Online session. So it's suitable for all levels, to beginners, to people who've been practicing for some time. And really I try to incorporate as many options as I can in classes so that we all feel that we can get something out of it. If you have any concerns, please do ask or ask your healthcare provider, specifically if you're managing a condition that's unique to you. You know best, but please feel free to get in touch. Please make sure that the place that you're exercising in is suitable, that you have had a look for any hazards, you have a nice clean area to work with, and yeah, just work at your own pace, at your own level, and I hope you enjoy. So just coming in towards your resting position. This giant cushion's been in retirement for a couple of weeks, so we've been off. And you can be here in constructive rest, which is just literally lying on your back with your knees bent. In constructive rest, what we're looking for is the arms below the line of the shoulders, and then it allows this upper part of the back to stay in a neutral position. If you're like me and it's not comfortable to put the head down on the floor, then you can have your blanket in here, relaxing onto your back. A neutral spine is about supporting these natural curves in the spine, and everyone's are slightly different. If you know you have something like scoliosis, it's going to be different for you, and you might want to pad on one side, like one side of the spine. If you're at the wall, it's really similar. You probably don't need as big a support under the head if you're at the wall here. So sometimes if you've been struggling with back pain, this can be quite nice. But back pain is fairly fickle, and sometimes what works some days is not what works other days. And you do not have to lay still. So it's kind of all changed in terms of calming down the nervous system. And I think things like, sorry for any ex-teacher, stuff like the fidget spinners, and like my little boy was a blue tack piece. Something to fiddle with can actually help people concentrate. If you find it really challenging to stay still, then it's totally fine to move in and out. Sometimes the challenge is in the brain, sometimes it's in the body, or both. And if you feel like you've not made the correct decision for you this morning, that you want to come back onto the floor, or you would like to try constructive rest at the wall, then change, it's fine. And things are always changing in the body with different activities, differing stress levels. It's really interesting throughout this lockdown. I've had back pain since before I even had my son, literally probably about 9 years or something. And then there's all this chat about it being your posture, slumping in a chair. There's some school have thought about the impacts of stress on the body. Had a fairly stressful job. And throughout lockdown, my back pain has just slowly disappeared to more days without pain than none, than with. But we've affected the posture and the stress, so you don't really know which one. And in all likelihood, it's probably a combination of factors. So if you know you have areas in your body, knees, hips, back, anywhere along the spine is fairly common. Wrist, neck, shoulders. Hopefully we'll run through some techniques that help strengthen, relief, relax. And what can be quite nice is to lift the heels, one and then the other, and place them back down. Just a little kind of march up onto your tiptoes and back down. And then just being aware not to kind of push really firmly into the joints. Or if it doesn't feel great for your calves, you can just do one side or the other. And I'll show you if you're lying in constructive rest on the floor. if you're using your chair or your sofa, just come right onto the edge so that your feet are right on the edge, and that you can basically put the balls of the toe on the edge. Fairly similar, left, left, lower, lower. Just seeing how the ankles are. And then you're just going to take your left leg and cross it over the right. And it works if you're at the wall as well. And if it's a lot for the hip, then you might want to slide the leg up the wall rather than keep it on the walls. And you're just going to circle that lifted leg, the left one. Just choose a direction. You can kind of point and flex the foot as well. Circles one way and then the other. There's always one direction that just feels like you're moving in the wrong direction. And you're just going to swish the foot. Try swishing the foot from side to side, like outside, inside, edge. And then you might feel that the calves are starting to get a bit tired, that the shins are starting to get a bit tired. And we're just pulling on all those muscles, all those nerves, limbering up the ankle joint, the feet, the toes. And then you can take that left leg and lift it up. It doesn't have to be straight, this leg just goes like that. So if you're here and you feel like there's nothing left, it's normal, and you just point and flex. And you're like pumping through the muscles in the calf. I know for some of you this is your favourite exercise. If you feel it's more irritating than anything else, then you can just circle around. Sometimes it can be to do with strength, sometimes a movement just doesn't suit the body. So if you've tried a few times and it's not working out, move on. Circle, bend and straighten, it's up to you. My legs feel tired. I did nothing yesterday. I was like filling in paperwork for a course. Legs are tired. And then you might just want to bend the knee and lift it a few times. A little bit more into the quads here, the thighs, the back of the thighs. And again, you may have still the second leg up on the wall. It still works. Movement. And then you're going to take this left leg either back onto the wall, onto your surface, or onto the floor, and allow the knee just to fall out a little and in a little. And just being aware of this exercise. If you have irritation around your hips, this can be one of the ones that makes it a little more aggravated, so you can always extend outwards instead. And it's one of those ones that's just fired in there as like an easy option, but it's actually pain. Good, and we're going to do that whole sequence again, but on the right side this time. I'm not sure if you can see, but any time I go to lift the leg, just automatically, so say here I'm lifting my right leg, my left leg has to come in closer to the midline of the body in order to keep the structure of the hips the same. So don't feel like the leg has got to be straight out from the hip. Just let it move in if you feel like that's what it wants to do. And then just circling the ankle again. And you might have different sensations on this side. And you might have kind of, I don't know, popping and grinding. I know I say normally to avoid that sensation in the hips, but it's more to do with warming up the muscles, probably in feet. And again, point the toe and heel. Just gently pumping through that calf muscle, through the shin. And then this is a tricky one. It's really tricky for me to describe it as well, especially on the screen. But you're going to try and flip the foot like in and out. So if this is the outer edge of the foot, you push it away and 4. So you've basically got circle this way, point and flex this way, and then you've also got this movement as well. Really similar to the wrists and hands. I don't know, I can't do that on this side. But it changes how the muscles work, either up the inside of the leg or the outside of the leg. And often we get this feet rolling in, which is giving us bad, but it's not necessarily bad. It's an option. Sometimes the feet roll out. And then you're going to take that right leg up towards the ceiling. This one's definitely stiffer from this side. You can hold on, but you don't have to. Again, you may still be at the wall, pointing and flexing the foot. And what you want to be really mindful of is probably behind the back of the knee. If that's where most of the sensation is lying, just move the foot away a little. If it's hip, bend a little bit more. You want it to be a broad stretch, like the whole back of the leg. And then you might circle. I always like to try and get the toes to go as well. And you're just going to bend the knee and straighten out the leg. Bend, straighten, bend, straighten. And then you're going to come back to that constructive rest, either on the wall, on the chair, or the surface of your bed, or on the floor. And you can choose a different option. So we're going to spend a few moments here. So you've got a little bit of time now to get yourself set up. If you do want to scoot over to the wall, if you have your bolster handy, you can always be here with the bolster catching under the thighs. I still have this under my head. And then you might just want to take a hand onto the heart. I use left hand heart, right hand onto the belly, but it doesn't really matter. And you might find that your elbows want to do this, lift up, but you can always relax them down. You can always have them on the floor. And just see how your breath feels today. And if you've got a little bit of a cold, a little bit of hay fever, or you find that the breathing makes you more anxious than it does relax you, then just focus on how the body is moving into the hands and how it's moving into the floor. And it's all about creating these elements of choice. You can choose what it is that you focus on at all times. So sometimes it's the sounds, sense of touch, either from the hands on the body or from the body on the floor. Sometimes it's the breath, but that's normally how it feels, how it sounds as well. You can also have whatever it is that you're looking at as your point, your anchor point. Sometimes if we're in unfamiliar surroundings, that's the most comfortable one. Or if you have a great view in front of you as well. And then with thoughts of care towards yourself, any time that the mind wanders away from one of those focal points, you just bring it right back. It's going to happen, so you don't need to be frustrated. You just notice that your mind's wandered off. And you just see what it is that you want to bring it back to focusing on. And it can change as well: sound, touch, breath, focal point. Sometimes you're in the mood to experiment. Sometimes we go with that thing that's comfortable, familiar. Just relaxing the shoulders, the muscles, and the face. And you're free to move the hands at any time, move the body at any time. Gently bringing your awareness to those points of concentration. Sound, touch, breath, sight. Maybe a mixture, doesn't have to be one. And you're just going to take a little wiggle through the fingers. Bring the hands back off the body. And then you'll need to dismount if you're at the wall. So the easiest way is just to roll onto your side. And we're all actually going to roll onto our side anyway. And then when you feel ready, you're just going to push up. And we're going to come to lying on our side. So heads to the right hand side. And then again, I was just learning about this concept of scaffolding for something else, but it applies here in restorative yoga as well. So you're going to lie on your side. I'm not sure what I want underneath. You might want a bolster. I find this is too high because my ribs just stick out to the side quite a lot, but if that feels comfy to you, go for the bolster if you have a flat one. Pillows, cushions. Let's grab some pillows. And then you're just going to rest onto your right hand side, so your head's to the right. And then what can also be comfortable is something cushioned between the thighs or the knees. I'm just going to show you all the options at once. You can just choose, just whatever you have. Sometimes, like feet up, it really depends on anatomy. I know it's not like the neatest answer in the world. I love that now. It's so facetious when you're doing anything for work and they're like, we need the answer now. And you're like, well, it depends on a whole plethora of circumstances. So I couldn't possibly give you one single correct answer this time. But it's true though, it really does depend on how you're feeling in the moment. So make sure you're comfortable. We're going to be moving the lower arm as well. Or there's an option to move the lower arm. So if it's kind of trapped in behind you, you might want to free it now. It can tuck underneath. Good. And that's definitely changed from the last time we did this class. I normally always have something tucked underneath the thighs, but it feels good. Don't think too much, just go with it. And the legs are hopefully feeling a bit released. And then if you can, the right arm just comes forward, the underneath arm. And if you feel that's no use, then you can bend it in or out, tuck it back behind you. See how you feel. And then the left arm is just going to lift up. So you just kind of like unfurl it. And then it's going to lower back down. Fingertips can just touch the floor in front. You just lift up. See what the shoulders feel like this morning. And then maybe once you reach up, the arm comes over. Just being really aware, especially of this front part of the shoulder tends to be, you get this nice stretch as well. So often what we do, and this is the kind of way that we get taught, like when you reach the arms over the head, you pull the shoulders down. Don't pull them down, let them reach. And then what happens when you pull the shoulders down is that you have to correct everything else that's gone out of kilter. When really, if you just let the arms reach up, you don't have to correct all the other stuff. And then just being aware, sometimes if the fronts of the shoulders don't feel good, reaching the arm forward or just not reaching as far over the head is a good option. And then you might want to try one where the hand reaches down and then up, over, and then up. And you can just stick with the one, maybe you want to make circles. See how you feel. Down and up. Over and up. And the elbows do not have to be straight. And then you're just going to bring the hand down to rest. It might be on the floor, might be on the side of the body. You might just want to have a little shrug of the shoulder. I find that just tilting the head away stretches these muscles in the neck, which feel quite nice after all these kind of arm circle movements. But not everybody likes neck stretches. I've come around. Sometimes if you've been practicing yoga for a while, you end up with a neck that's too stretchy and then all sorts of other things start to happen. It's just because we focus on like developmental stretches in yoga. But when we're constantly moving, it's just a different system that we're operating under, a different way of the muscles to move. And then from here, you're just going to turn yourself to look at the floor. So if you can, you're just going to keep the legs roughly in a similar position. You may need to add padding. And then if you've got a bolster, this is the one we're going to look down. So again, some of us are going to be really comfortable looking all the way down. I like to just lie the bolster kind of on the side of the body and take a little twist of the head at the end. And sometimes it depends how you enter the posture, is really how it goes. So if you don't have the bolster, pillows, and then you just, these are like, this is a really flat, sad looking pillow. Not my pillow. If you just kind of gather them up, like at the top corners and just scrunch them up like that, then you almost end up with a bolster anyway. So 2 pillows is absolutely fine. And then we have this twist. Twists are quite challenging for the nerves of the body. So if you feel like it's almost right but not quite, lifting the bolster up, so either rolling something underneath like this, will just reduce how much twist. I know you're not, it doesn't seem like it, but it is. And then those anchor points again. Sound, touch, sight, breath. And really with that, we're just focusing on like what we're doing while we're doing it, which is where the magic lies. It's not in all the flapping around, not the shape of the body. Some of it's from making choices that we're fully comfortable with as well. It's really fulfilling. It's called flow. When you just get into that zone where you like what you're doing, feel like you're good at it, feel like it's worthwhile. And if you feel like you need to move, then you can always just press yourself up and back down again. You might even want to take a stretch the opposite way. Maybe the movement that your breath's creating is enough for you. Bringing your attention back to the sensations that you can feel. Breath, the sight. That sense of touch. And just having a little scan through the body and see if there's any areas that feel particularly tight. You don't necessarily have to loosen them, but maybe just being aware. Maybe there's none, that's grand. And then sometimes what can help is in thinking that rather than anything's wrong, just considering why there might be some tension in the body. Is there a particular task, a particular injury, or a stressful event that's ongoing? And you're just going to press the floor away with the hands. You're going to come to kneeling. We're going to take a cat stretch. We always end up with props scattered all over the place. Every single class. Even if I don't think I'm using props, somehow at the end, they're everywhere. So wherever you feel comfortable with here, you can be on forearms. You can use your sofa. Sometimes it's really hard to get a good position for the wrists. Sometimes arms out, sometimes arms in. If you want to go and lean against the wall, and you can, because we're going to take a few breaths here. I don't find this particularly comfortable, but it can be a good option. Yeah, it feels good for the wrists. If you're particularly struggling to the wrists, maybe, and you just arch the back away and then release again. I find the bolsters quite good, and then I hold it this way, but I have pretty wide shoulders. Arching up and then down, arching up, and then your feet, just just notice whether they're tucked or relaxed, and you're just moving from stretching to the back here, and then releasing a little bit. So you're not going all the way into the cow stretch where you're arching this way, but just maybe a little bit past neutral spine, where your kind of spine's in a straight line, or it seems like it's in a straight line. And remember that your head, well, the neck is still a huge part of the spine, so if you want a little extra stretch and your neck feels okay, you can tuck the chin in. Just be aware of when you come back to neutral that you don't arch the chin all the way up, and that we're thinking about the back of the neck rather than the position of the head. If you really cannot get comfy on the wrists, then fists, or actually child's pose is a fairly similar stretch for the back. Less kind of movement with it though. And we used to get told this in yoga all the time. It's weird when I think about it, how long we've been doing yoga classes, how long I've been doing yoga classes. It was like a conditioning issue for your wrist, that you just needed to push through the pain and eventually it would become strong enough for you to do stuff. And then you do get this kind of strength in the hands and the forearms, But I don't know, if I'm being totally honest, there was always kind of a bit of a, you know, like you want to go like this, like in the rests. And we don't really bear our body weight that much day to day. We do on our legs, but you know, if we can avoid it, we tend not to do planks in our day-to-day life. I mean, it's still useful. Like this push movement is still really useful. And then you can just ease through the head and neck. You're just going to stretch out the right leg, push through the heel, bring the knee back in, and you're going to do the same on the left hand side. Just really easy. And if you do like the neck stretch, the next time you take your right leg out, just gently turn the head to the left. I like to just think about reaching the head forward to get this kind of lengthening. Again, if you're just not into the neck stretches, then you just keep the head looking forward, or you can turn a little bit. That's fine. Nice dynamic movements here that use lots of different muscle groups, lots of different joints, which is great. That's kind of how your body moves day to day. And then we're going to take a child's pose, so you might want to use your props and take the tension off the wrist. Anyone else feel that? It doesn't matter what I do, it's like, but for now it's not too bad. So child's pose, or without any props. You can reach your arms out if you like, or in, hug underneath the bolster. You might want to take a little twist for the wrists. And I was just saying in the class we did earlier in the week as well, it's actually a lot of percentage of the population can't actually put their arm and their hand at 90 degrees. So the hand would always need to be a little bit further forward. So if you feel when you're kneeling or doing any planks or anything, kind of like how the arms would be in a downward dog, to just move the hands forward, and it immediately just reduces what we're asking. You see this, it's this angle here, the wrist to do, which is hard when you're kneeling because it doesn't feel right really. But that's just because we've been practicing in it a certain way. And then up you come. And we're going to do that sequence again to the left hand side. So head to the left. I'll just move this so it's louder over here. And again, as always, it's still worth mentioning that both sides might need something different. So just lying on your side, knees roughly bent. We'll see what this side brings. I always get suspicious when one side behaves better than expected. Well, what's the other one going to give me now? And again, here, sometimes elevating the feet. So what that does is it's just kind of closing the gap at the front of the hips. So it can feel comfortable. If your hips like to rotate inwards, then putting the feet up on something might be a really good option for you. And then your left arm can come out. And then this is where we just start to kind of drape the right arm up and then down. And I kind of like to just lift with the elbow and then just kind of unravel the arm. The hand does not need to be like straight up, plumb line in front of you. Again, it can be quite nice for the shoulders if it just reaches just ahead. Just up and down. And then every time you would just kind of start overthinking stuff. Come back to the sound, the sense of your breath, what you can see. Sometimes you can see, well, if your eyes are open, the body parts moving. And then maybe the next time you want to try reaching over the head. And another variable here is what the hand is doing. So the palm doesn't have to face like to the floor, up and then down. See how it feels? I don't know about you guys, but like when I turn my palm up, I get this huge stretch. It's also rotating like the shoulder. Clicking in the elbow today, so I'll just leave that out. I went for a massive walk on Tuesday, and for the few days afterwards, like all my joints were just really loose. My body, it wasn't sore, but like I definitely felt that there was some, like, I don't know, rebellion of some type just from changing up the routine. You can make circles if you like, if that's what feels good for your shoulders. Yeah, just whatever feels right for you. And again, you don't need to keep the chest necessarily straight up and down. I'm just throwing out some options. You're going to have to catch the ones that suit you the best. Now there's this element, I know certainly that this was like quite attractive when I first started doing yoga, of like coming in and being told what to do and doing it well and like having that sense of achievement. But it doesn't mean it's real or it's right. Over. And that perfectionism is a coping mechanism for stress. Why we're going to tidy the house when we've got an exam or a deadline or a stressful situation. It's the same thing here when you try and line yourself up in a perfect way. And when you feel ready, the legs roughly in a similar position. So I normally just bring my lower knee in a little bit. We're going to turn to face the floor again. So you're going to use your props here, pillows or your bolster. Maybe you don't want any props, that's fine. And we do this kind of twisted variation, a twist of a child's pose. It's kind of like when we're lying on our back and we drop our knees side to side, but we're twisting our body instead of the legs. The same, you can always reach the arms out a little bit. And that will really affect what's happening in the back. And you can come back to your breath. Checking in with the time. It's really hard. I just have no idea what time it is when we get going with this. You can always lift up, take a stretch if you like, and lower down if you feel like you want to move. You can always move a leg. Just focusing in on your anchor points now. Have they changed from the beginning of the class? When you're ready, just pushing up and away from the floor, you're going to come into kneeling again. So you can use your wall, use your chair or your bed, or just the floor. Cushions will work the same way as a bolster. You can be on forearms, remember. So we're going to do the cow stretch this time rather than the cat stretch. So you can be here. If you're comfortable on your forearms, Then you can come down to your forearms. I'm just not comfortable there, in simple terms. And again, you can have arms on the wall or here. A sofa seat might actually be quite a good height as well. And remember, the wrists have already had, you know, the cat stretch version. I don't know how high. I just have to build a tower. Like, I would have to use a chair. Get comfortable in my forearms. So you're going to just arch the back in the opposite direction. So you're kind of gently dropping the belly down towards the floor and then back up to neutral. Try not to, you can if you want, but we're just going to try and stop at neutral. If you feel like you want to make the full range of motion, that's fine. Just be aware of when you arch the back down. This can often feel like it's not going to be good for the lower back. Actually, forward folds, if you have disc problems in your back or arthritis or symptoms of arthritis, it's the forward folding that's the bad one, and it feels really nice at the time, rather than this backwards one. So I like to just keep a little lift of my abdominal muscles, see how you feel. They might be like straining already, which is fine. It means that they're doing their job. And then kind of back to that neutral position and then lowering down again. So really this is just a stretch of the front of the body. And then left. Sometimes it's around here in the middle back. The bones in the spine change shape. So if you feel like a pinching kind of in the mid-back, stop before you get to that level, because it's going to be the bones interacting rather than the stretching of the soft tissues. It's really hard, isn't it, not to stretch into that cat stretch. Good, and then you might just want to like lift the head slightly. So if you think when you're looking down and you arch the back and you maybe look just above the line of a skirting board, or similar. That's only because that's what I'm looking at now. Just gently arching. Good. And then up. Arching. And then up. Good. And then through the middle, we're going to skip child's pose this time. We're going to come to sitting. I'm just going to face you, but you can obviously face whatever direction is best for you around your area. And we're going to stick the right leg out. You may want something underneath the knee. Often what happens, well, if you're pretty flexible and you can straighten the leg so that the heel comes off, definitely put, that looks horrible on the camera there. It looks like the lower part of the leg's doing something it shouldn't. That you can prop underneath the knee or the thigh, and it's basically impossible for you to kind of overstretch the leg then. If you feel that there's like a big gap and you want to feel something solid underneath, same thing. Left leg, some of you are thinking this right leg's fine, but it's the left leg, I'm not sure what to do. This is comfy for me this morning, which is a weird one. You might want to stick it out, you might want to bend it here, here. If you feel like that's almost right, but not quite, propping underneath. I prop at the thigh, like right up here high. If you've only got something that's quite thin, try to prop at the knee, see how it doesn't quite reach there. But you get the same support by propping higher up. So, options, trying some things. Good. And then from here, you're going to lift the right arm up and then lower it down. And just lifting the right arm up. So we're kind of looking down the length of the thigh. And it's working on the back, basically. And the same as before, the arms do not have to squeeze in by the ears. Just up, like this natural angle of the shoulder. And then you're going to do the same but with the left arm, just lifting it up. Does anyone else find this like quite tough on the muscles? Not tough, but like, seems like you're just sitting in like me, one hand up. But it's actually really difficult to sit upright. If you lean forwards, your abs will switch off and your back will switch off a little bit. So try and lift up. And then both arms can lift up. It's like that first stretch in the morning. You're just lifting up. So basically what happens is when you lift up, all of this lifts, the rib cage lifts, and it's just stretching all of the like collagen fibers, the muscles, connective tissues. One more. And you might want to stay with this, or you might want to take a lean forward. Don't lean forward if it's just a compulsion to do so, like I feel like I need to lean forwards because I always lean forwards. You can take a little twist, or you can take a lean forwards, or you can carry on lifting up. And just remembering that sometimes that forward fold feels like a relief, but if you're still having a sore back or sore hips, like later on today or tomorrow morning, is it the forward folds? Do you think that might be the forward folds? I've just been doing like a lot of work towards personal training, picking on poor family members to do the assessments, and like hinging from the hips, like this forward fold in the general population, is like people find it really hard. But in yoga, like first class in, they're like touch your toes. We always do forward fold here, forward fold, that hip hinging movement. And then we're going to do the other side. So you're going to stick the left leg out, maybe tuck it underneath, something underneath. And again, you think, well, I want to prop my knee, so I'll stick it right underneath the knee. But I find that just propping it under the thigh so that it kind of ends at the knee is a really nice option. Not sure why my legs are moving in this way. The folded leg. It seems crazy. Like sometimes you have a bit of a break and you think this is going to be really hard, and then your body is just like clearly needed a break. So you can face forward. I like to just kind of twist a little bit here, and you're going to lift the left arm up so we're upright, and then release. And then you might feel, everybody feels something a little different from that midsection of your back upwards. Maybe you feel a lot in the shoulders if that's the tight area for you. Or sometimes if you're like prone to injuries in an area, you're constantly thinking about, we don't want to hurt it. So just as we did lying on our side, but we're lifting the arms up to the ceiling this time, rather than to the side, but it's the same movement for the shoulder and the chest. And then you might want to switch and do the right arm. And again, it's up and down. I'm sometimes deliberately vague with the instructions, because if I just tell you to lift your arm to the ceiling, you'll lift it in a way that feels good for you. Whereas if you say, squeeze the arm into the side of the head, or, you know what I mean? And you start looking for like, well, what is it that she's asking? You might want to try both arms. Good. And down. And down. And then you might want to lean forwards. You might want to take a twist. If you want to go from forwards to up, see what works for you. Good, and then you can just take a little ease out for the legs. You might want to give them a shake. You might want to keep them still. It's up to yourself. And for this next one, we're going to take a twist. So if you find like sitting upright, like here, like I said, my hips are really far forward, so I find this is like the natural way. Some people's hips are naturally just tilted back. So if you're this person and you find that you're doing this in your forward folds, nothing wrong with you. Your hips are probably just tilted back a little bit. So if that's you, what can be quite nice is leaning the back of the body. I mean, if you want to try leaning back, then you can. Either against your sofa, your bed, wherever you are, or against the wall here. And then you just don't have to think about holding the upper body up, because it's done for you, that's fine. You're going to keep the right leg bent, you're going to take a little bit of a twist. So you might take the left arm towards the right leg. And remember, it's not an easy version, it's just an option. And the same when you're sitting, just this little twist. I also feel like I have to like lift and like just release the shoulders a little bit. The left leg doesn't have to be straight either. It's whatever works for you. And then you might just want to flip from side to side. Easy though, it's that moment where you start to feel like there's a little bit of stiffness starting in the body. There's loads of chat, and I certainly got this mixed up, about finding your edge in yoga. And then basically you just crank till you can't move anymore. And you're like, I find my edge, but it's the wrong edge. You've gone all the way through to the other side. Good, other side, twisting around. You can always take this lying on your back and swishing your knees side to side. And then you can move legs, switch legs even. Move legs, we are moving. Oh, I got my whoosh back. I've been unable to do that all week. So you're just going to take your right arm onto the left leg and twist. And you can see I'm like quite reclining quite far back. You don't have to be like, you know, straight up and down. Other direction. And if the leg's putting you off, catch something underneath, straighten it out. You're just finding your own tempo. And then when you're done, you're gonna slide back in towards the wall, or if you're at the wall already, turn around and put your feet up on the wall, or your bed, or your bolster. So if you're using the bolster, you might want to, instead of catching the knees, just like moving around, catch underneath the calf muscles, maybe, or underneath the thighs. That's quite nice actually, all the way up to the hips. Or you're here at the wall with that kind of bend in the knees. So I just like slide in. Again, my thighs are way longer than my shins, as you can see. So I just go with how it feels in the back, maybe. I follow the length of the longer bone, like the thigh. And this is like how you're supposed to sit in your office chair with this perfect posture. It feels really different, doesn't it? Your whole back is supported by a surface, whereas when you're in a chair, your abs and your core muscles have to do that work. So just as we've been doing, you're going to lift the right arm up and maybe take it over the head. So that just happened without me even doing it. The palm wanted to turn. So it comes to here, and then something has to happen to let the arms reach. So you have right arm here, reaching over the head. See if you can bring right arm to tap. Left knee comes slightly off the wall, or the foot, or off your bed. You can just do this lying on the floor if you don't have a suitable surface. Foot returns, arm returns. And then you're going to bring the right arm back towards the hips, and then the left arm covers it over. So roughly in that movement. But again, my arm is not lying right beside my head. Some people's shoulders just do not go. Do not allow the arm to go all the way down. Hand on the forehead is quite nice, or just bend the elbow. Perfectionism, remember, stress response. Why do we want to have that perfect looking, or what we perceive to be perfect pose, shape? And then left arm towards the right knee towards the left arm, and then back. And we often do this kneeling on all fours, looking down at the floor. Again, a little more challenging when you're kneeling. And return that left arm back by the hip, right arm lifts. Bring it knee to hand, back down. Bring the right arm by the hips, left arm comes up, knee to arm, and back down. And then just keep going like that, right arm. And just feel how the body has to compensate when anything starts to move. Is it in the hips, in the legs? Down. What happens when you put the foot back down? Gently switching the arms. Nice easy flowing movements again, really good for diffusing stress. Concentrating because it's complex, a set of instructions. Right arm over. It's not too physically demanding for the body. Do a little bit of work. Back down. Really nice movement to mobilize the joints, so we need to move them. Left arm over. Literally keep them nourished. And all the vitamins required for your bone health, health for the soft tissues. Switching arms. Right arm to left leg. We're going to do it one more time on the other side. Can you land the whole foot down, or do you notice that the toe comes or the heel comes first? There's no right or wrong answer, there's just an observation. It's a tool to keep your attention. Left arm up. Hand to knee. And back down again. And the arms come down by the sides. You may want to drape them over the head if that's your preference. Quite like that one. You might want to take a hamstring stretch by bending the legs up the wall. If you're using the chair or the seat of a chair or the surface of a bed or whatever, to get a hamstring stretch, you're just going to have to lift the legs up towards the ceiling. Same thing if you're on the floor. And you can see another stretch for the hamstrings. What I said before was the seated forward fold. And you're just making the same shape, but lying on your back instead. So it's just slightly different. Usually for the joints rather than the muscles. And it doesn't have to be the biggest, stretchiest hamstring stretch you've ever done in your life, remember? These might be bent. If you want to, you can lift the legs away from the wall a little bit. Sometimes if you're particularly stretchy in a certain posture, we go searching for that sensation, like, well, I can't feel any stretching. It doesn't mean it's not stretching. If your legs are long, lengthened, the knees are not bent, the hamstrings lengthened. Whether you can feel that or not, doesn't matter. And then sometimes our legs are like this and the hamstrings are burning, right? It's stretching, and that's fine. That's also considered normal. And you might want to spend your relaxation section with your feet up on the wall. You might want to come away and come into constructive rest again. You might want to prop the bolster underneath the knees, lie on your side. You get the idea that there's options, and you're just going to choose which option suits you best this morning. Good. If you have your eye pillows, then you can put those on as well. It's starting to turn, the weather in Orkney. I know Auntie's not in Orkney, but it's like starting to get dark. It's those comments, you're like, oh, it's quite dark now, where it's just been light all the time. So you might want to keep the light in. And then again, you're just going to take this first few moments here to tune into those sounds around you again. Sounds, sense of touch, breath. And just being aware of the fact that we have moved our bodies since we did constructive rest the first time around. So the things that you focus on may well feel different this time around. Breath. That sense of touch. Maybe you want to bring the hands back onto the body, heart, belly. Again, it doesn't matter whether the eyes are open or closed. You can use that focal point if that's what feels comfortable for you. And anytime the mind wanders, and it will wander, just acknowledge it in whatever way feels comfortable for you. And then come back to those senses: sound, touch, sight. Some days it just feels like you're bringing yourself back, back, back. And some days it's easy to concentrate. Just accept the version of events that are happening today as they unfold themselves in this very moment of time. Not what you wish they were, just as they are in this present moment of time. Anytime you notice that the mind has wandered away, you're no longer aware of those senses, bring them back, bring it back. Touch, sound, breath, sight. Just turning your attention once more to those senses around you. Touch, breath, sight. Just going to ring the bell this morning, singing bowl. And when you can no longer hear the sound of the bowl, you're just going to sit up if you haven't already. You might just want to give yourself a little wiggle through your fingers and toes now. Just being aware of yourself resting in your room. If you haven't already, you can make your way back up to sitting, however that feels comfy for you. It doesn't have to be cross legs. And we're just going to finish off with a deep breath. You might want to lift your arms up, you might want to take a look up. It's optional, you can do whatever feels good. And namaste, maybe hands to your heart, to the floor. Thank you all as ever for coming along this morning.